Tab Hunter names the gay actors of old Hollywood he dated in secret, and wait till you hear who tops his list. The revelation about a certain Western star will shatter everything you thought you knew about the golden age of cinema. Hollywood flashbulbs pop as studio-crafted heartthrobs parade their starlets down red carpets, while behind closed doors, a shadow industry of clandestine meetups and secret phone calls connects stars who dare not speak their truth. Tab Hunter, with his beach blonde hair and all-American good looks, sold millions of movie tickets and teenage dreams. But what secrets did he harbor behind those piercing blue eyes? And how many legendary careers hung in the balance of whispered confessions? Tonight we peel back the carefully constructed veneer of Hollywood's most sacred myths. Subscribe now as we journey through the forbidden love stories Hollywood fought desperately to bury. Arthur Andrew Kelm was born on July 11, 1931, in New York City, a world away from the sun-drenched shores of California, where he would later become an icon. His childhood was hardly the stuff of fairy tales. His Jewish father abandoned the family early on, leaving his German Catholic mother Gertrude to raise him and his older brother Walter in near poverty during the crushing grip of the Great Depression. She eventually remarried and moved the family to California, where young Arthur took his stepfather's surname of Gellion. The breathtaking coastal landscapes of San Francisco awakened something in the young boy, a deep appreciation for nature, horses, and the pristine beauty of an unfettered life. Fiercely athletic and strikingly handsome even in adolescence, Arthur's defining features, that shock of blonde hair, jawline seemingly carved from marble, and eyes the impossible blue of a California swimming pool, were impossible to ignore. At just 15, he lied about his age to join the Coast Guard, where his disciplined physique and natural charisma drew attention from peers and superiors alike. It was during a chance encounter at a riding stable, one of Hunter's lifelong passions, that his destiny forever changed. A jaw-dropping coincidence placed him in the sightline of talent agent Henry Wilson, the notorious star maker who specialized in transforming rugged young men into marquee idols. Wilson, who had already discovered Rock Hudson and would later represent Troy Donahue and Robert Wagner, immediately recognized Arthur's camera-ready potential. With characteristic bluntness, the agent declared, "Your name is garbage. We'll call you Tab Hunter." In that singular cavalier moment, Arthur Gellion vanished, and Tab Hunter, the manufactured idol, was born. By 1950, Hunter had scored his first film role in The Lawless. His breakthrough would come in 1955 with Battle Cry, where his portrayal of a young Marine in World War II showcased not just his undeniable physical appeal, but a raw vulnerability that connected viscerally with audiences. Warner Brothers quickly signed him to a 7-year contract, recognizing the goldmine they had on their hands. The studio publicity machine worked overtime, plastering his face across fan magazines and engineering romances with starlets. Meanwhile, America's newest heartthrob was harboring secrets that would have instantly destroyed the carefully crafted public image that was making millions for the studio. Tab's fame exploded beyond anyone's wildest expectations. In 1957, he topped the music charts with Young Love, a syrupy ballad that sold over 1 million copies and knocked Elvis Presley from the #1 spot. Teen girls across America plastered their bedroom walls with his pictures, wrote him passionate letters, and fainted at his public appearances. Hunter became Warner's most lucrative star, appearing in box office hits like Damn Yankees in 1958 and They Came to Cordura in 1959. Studio executives counted their fortunes while Tab counted the cost of living behind an exhausting facade. The whirlwind fame came with a devastating price. Behind the carefully managed public appearances and studio-arranged dates with starlets like Natalie Wood and Debbie Reynolds, both of whom became close friends and confidants who knew his truth, Tab lived in constant fear of exposure. The threat was not theoretical. In 1955, the scandal magazine Confidential published a story about Hunter's arrest at a limp-wristed pajama party several years earlier. The potentially career-ending exposé was only neutralized when Warner Brothers offered the magazine a more salacious story about another contract player in exchange for burying deeper investigations into Hunter's private life. Tab's most significant early relationship began in 1956 with the devastating revelation that he was dating Olympic figure skater Ronnie Robertson. The pair maintained an intensely private relationship for several years, finding rare moments of authentic connection in a world that would have crucified them both professionally had their truth been known. The pressure of constant secrecy eventually fractured their bond, but the relationship remained one of the most significant of Hunter's early life. By the early 1960s, the studio system that had created Tab Hunter was beginning to crumble. His contract with Warner Brothers ended, and the clean-cut image that had once made him a superstar seemed increasingly out of step with changing times. Roles became scarcer, and the tide of fame receded with merciless speed. Hunter took whatever work he could find, including dinner theater and forgettable European films, while struggling with the crushing weight of maintaining his public persona. The career decline was punishing. The once bankable star found himself adrift in a rapidly changing industry. In a jaw-dropping twist of Hollywood fate, filmmaker John Waters cast Hunter in Polyester opposite drag performer Divine, beginning an unlikely career resurrection. The casting was a meta-commentary on Hunter's heartthrob image, and the actor's willingness to play against type revealed a self-awareness and depth that surprised critics. His subsequent role in Lust in the Dust cemented his cult status among a new generation of fans who appreciated the winking subversion of his former pretty boy image. It wasn't until decades later in his soul-bearing 2005 autobiography, Tab Hunter Confidential, that he finally acknowledged the truth he had hidden for his entire career. The revelation shocked some, but confirmed what Hollywood insiders had long suspected. One of America's most adored male sex symbols had lived a complete double life, dating men while portraying the heterosexual ideal for millions of adoring female fans. His late-in-life candor was breathtakingly honest. "I'm happy to be out and proud and all of that," he told an interviewer, "but I'm a private person, not comfortable exposing myself. But if one person reads my book and it helps them, then it's all worth it." His 3-decade relationship with producer Alan Glazer, which lasted until Hunter's death in 2018, became a testament to the authentic life he had been denied in his youth. All those battles with secrecy carved a blacklist into his memory that few knew existed until decades later. In his final years, Hunter finally opened his private diary. Here are the 7 Hollywood heartthrobs he secretly dated during his reign as America's golden boy, revelations that rewrite the mythology of Hollywood's most mythologized era. Anthony Perkins. The year was 1956. Studio executives orchestrated a deliberate collision between their 2 rising stars at the Chateau Marmont swimming pool, planning publicity photos that would showcase America's most promising young bachelors as carefree friends. Neither Tab nor Tony had been warned about the arranged meeting. Their chemistry was instant and electric, a connection that studio publicists completely misinterpreted as competitive male ego, while orchestrating a friendship that would generate countless innocent fan magazine features. "We couldn't take our eyes off each other," Hunter allegedly confided decades later. "It was like finding an oasis after years in the desert." Their subsequent affair lasted nearly 3 years, conducted in plain sight under the guise of bachelor buddies, sharing meals and attending premieres. But Perkins' escalating jealousy and competitive nature would eventually poison what began as profound connection. The next name on Hunter's list, however, threatened both their careers with far more immediate danger. Rody McDow. On a fog-shrouded evening in 1959, Tab arrived at McDowell's Benedict Canyon home for what was ostensibly a casual dinner party, only to discover an intimate gathering of Hollywood's most carefully closeted stars, an underground society that offered rare freedom from pretense. The British-born child actor turned adult star had cultivated a reputation as Hollywood's most trusted confidant, his home serving as a sanctuary where certain celebrities could momentarily shed their exhausting public personas. Roddy knew everyone's secrets but never exploited them, Hunter reportedly said. He called his house the decompression chamber where we could breathe without fear. Their brief romantic entanglement was less passionate than profoundly nurturing. McDowell became the one person in Hollywood with whom Hunter felt he could be entirely himself, a gift beyond measure in an industry built on calculated falsehoods. But even in this sanctuary, the specter of career destruction loomed, as it did in his shocking connection with our next leading man, Rory Calhoun. The rugged Western star and tab crossed paths at a 1957 studio commissary lunch, where Calhoun, 14 years Hunter's senior and at the peak of his tough guy fame, sent a handwritten note via waiter inviting the younger actor for a private acting consultation at his Malibu beach house. What began as a mentorship evolved into a volcanic, months-long affair that Hunter later described as both the most thrilling and terrifying relationship of his early Hollywood years. Rory lived like there was no tomorrow, Hunter purportedly confided to a close friend. He'd show up at my house at midnight, still in his cowboy boots, reeking of danger. The affair ended when Calhoun's own past, including prison time, was exposed by scandal magazines, forcing him to retreat into an aggressively heterosexual public image to save his career, a sobering reminder of the precipice on which all of Hunter's relationships balanced. But his next secret romance would prove even more professionally perilous. Robert Wagner. During the filming of The Sea Chase in 1955, where both had supporting roles behind John Wayne, Wagner and Hunter developed a friendship that blossomed in the isolation of location shooting in Hawaii, far from Hollywood's watchful machinery. The devastatingly handsome Wagner, groomed as 20th Century Fox's next matinee idol and rigorously protected by studio head Darryl F. Zanuck himself, represented a particularly dangerous liaison. Both studios had invested millions creating their heterosexual heartthrob images. "We called ourselves the two most expensive properties in Hollywood," Hunter supposedly revealed in a rare, unguarded moment. "Together, we were worth more than most movies' entire budgets." Their affection developed into something deeper than either expected, but the relationship dissolved under impossible pressure when Wagner began receiving anonymous threats hinting at exposure. A brutal reminder that in 1950s Hollywood, authentic connection often carried catastrophic professional consequences. The actor who followed in Hunter's heart, however, would teach him lessons in self-acceptance that changed his life forever. Jacques Berserk. At a 1958 Hollywood Foreign Press luncheon, the impossibly sophisticated Bergerac, fresh from his divorce from Ginger Rogers and building a modest film career, captivated Hunter with worldly European attitudes toward sexuality unburdened by American Puritanism. Their affair, conducted partially in Paris during Hunter's promotional tour for Lafayette Escadrille, introduced Tab to a world where one's private life could exist somewhat separately from public persona, a revolutionary concept for an actor suffocating under Hollywood's rigid moral constraints. "Jacques taught me that shame was an American invention," Hunter allegedly reflected. "In France, I finally understood I wasn't broken." The relationship lasted barely 6 months, but fundamentally altered Hunter's self-perception, planting seeds of the self-acceptance that would take decades to fully bloom, unlike his next relationship, which nearly shattered his carefully constructed public image completely. George Nader. On the backlot of Universal Studios in late 1955, Nader, whose career was gaining impressive momentum with leading roles, discreetly passed Hunter his phone number during a charity baseball game attended by dozens of studio executives oblivious to the exchange. Their subsequent relationship coincided with the darkest period of Hunter's career. When Confidential magazine threatened to expose his sexuality, Universal Pictures diverted attention by sacrificing Nader, feeding the magazine information about George instead, effectively destroying his American career. George took the bullet meant for me, Hunter confessed decades later to a documentary filmmaker. I've carried that guilt my entire life. The studio-engineered betrayal permanently damaged their relationship, but Nader later rebuilt a modest career in Europe, while Hunter continued his precarious balancing act between authentic private life and manufactured public image, until his most dangerous and transformative relationship pushed him to the brink of professional destruction. Montgomery Clift. The fateful introduction occurred at a small industry gathering in 1957, a year after Clift's devastating car accident had altered his once perfect face, where the troubled actor and Hunter recognized in each other a shared burden of secret identities beneath public adoration. Their tumultuous relationship lasted barely 3 months, but marked Hunter deeply. Clift's self-destructive spiral, fueled by alcohol, prescription drugs, and the psychological torture of fame built on fundamental deception, offered a terrifying glimpse of Tab's potential future. Monty was what happened when the lie consumed the liar, Hunter reportedly told a confidant years later. I knew I was looking at my future if I stayed on the same path. The brief, intense connection became Hunter's breaking point, watching Clift's brilliant talent gradually erode under the weight of living a double life, ultimately inspired Tab's gradual journey toward authentic self-acceptance, a path that would take decades but eventually lead to genuine peace. The golden age of Hollywood created gods and goddesses on celluloid, perfect, untouchable icons whose carefully manufactured personas bore little resemblance to the complex, vulnerable humans behind the glamorous facades. For Tab Hunter and countless others, the price of stardom was invisibility in plain sight, adored by millions who never knew them at all. The breathtaking irony of Tab's career was that his most authentic performance was the daily portrayal of someone he wasn't. As the studio system crumbled and cultural attitudes evolved, Hunter gradually reclaimed his authentic identity. His 2005 autobiography and the subsequent documentary it inspired didn't merely expose old secrets, they humanized an era when being oneself could end not just a career, but potentially a life. In his final years, Hunter found peace with producer Alan Glazer, his partner of over 3 decades. The manufactured golden boy who once lived in terror of exposure died in 2018 as his authentic self, having outlived nearly all who once conspired to keep him caged. Perhaps the most profound legacy of Tab Hunter isn't found in his films or recordings, but in the courage it took to finally speak his truth after decades of enforced silence. In doing so, he illuminated not just his own journey, but an entire shadow history of Hollywood that forever changes how we understand the golden age of American cinema. Which of these secret relationships surprised you the most? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Hollywood's hidden history, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Tomorrow we'll reveal the shocking truth behind Marilyn Monroe's final phone calls, and the powerful men who conspired to keep those conversations buried forever.